Hi, Adams. Happy Tuesday. I am here with Chapter 8. That night, as I climbed into bed, Osh surprised me yet again by handing me a small wooden box that had once held spice from the mainland. It smelled like cinnamon when I opened it. Inside, there was a piece of paper folded twice. What's this? He tipped his head. Look. The paper was old and tattered. Osh sat beside me and held his lantern closer. Osh could tell good stories when he wanted to, but he couldn't read at all. Do you know what this says? I asked. He shook his head. I peered at the paper. The words on it were faded, some beyond reading, and in places the paper was so damaged that the writing had rubbed away. There wasn't much left, just little islands of words. I read them aloud for both of us. If I could, for now, hope you, bright sea, better off, lambs, little feather, if I left something, day it might help. So this is what it looks like. So the words are very spread out, which tells us that some of the words are missing or can't be read. What is this? I asked again. Osh didn't look at me. When I found you and peeled away the cloth you were wrapped in, I discovered this pressed against your chest. It was wet and some of the ink had run, and it came away from your skin in pieces. He didn't sound like the Osh I knew. I laid it flat and put it back together and dried it. For you. For now. I looked again at the letter, at the handwriting. For all the damage to the paper, the writing still looked like a woman's, I thought. My mother's, I thought. It was the first time I really believed I had a mother, though I knew I had not sprung out of nothing. It just felt that way. I don't know what it means, I said. I don't either, Osh said. I don't think there was enough of it to make any sense. But what if it did? I said. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Osh bowed his head. His hands, resting in his lap, were covered with scars from all his work and whatever had happened before me. When you first came here, I didn't think I'd get to keep you, he said. If people hadn't been so afraid that you were from Pennickys, they would have taken you away for sure. I tried to picture that, Osh bolting the door, locking the windows, hiding me under the bed. Miss Maggie wasn't afraid, I said, and she didn't try to take me. Osh nodded. Miss Maggie isn't like other people. I guess I understood all that, but I still didn't understand why he had waited so long to show me what was in the spice box. And I said as much. I always meant to show you, he said, when you were old enough, but I'd been old enough for some time now. You know how much I've wanted to find out where I come from. He sighed, ran his fingers through his hair. And then, if you found out where you came from? Then I'd know, I said, baffled by how upset he was. Why would that be such a bad thing? You're still a young girl, not too old to be taken away. He looked at his hands. Or to go because you wanted to be somewhere better than a shack on a rock in the middle of nowhere. It was hard for me to believe that this man, who was as strong as February and August combined, and smart, besides, would be afraid of something like that. I leaned my head against his arm. I'm happy here with you, I said, and I won't be any less happy if I know where I came from. And I won't want to go back there, especially if I'm from Pennickys. I closed my eyes. I want to know, that's all. I felt Osh sigh. Some folks might not give you the choice. Your people might want you back. I smiled, knowing he couldn't see my face. First off, if they had wanted me, they wouldn't have sent me away, especially not like they did. I handed the paper back and scuttled under my blanket. Second, you are my people. He looked at me, the lantern light golden in his eyes. I came here to be by myself, but the thought of being here alone now, without you, he cleared his throat. I can't think that thought. It won't stay long enough to make sense. I reached up and tugged on his ear. Good, I said. Then let it fly away. I closed my eyes. There was something else with the letter, he said. I opened my eyes again. What? He held out the spice box again. I sat up and found in the bottom of the box a scrap of rough cloth, tied into a bundle with some twine. Did you open it? It weighed almost nothing. Yes. I pulled on the twine and found a ring nestled in the fold of the cloth. I held it up in the light and was surprised to see the gleam of a red gemstone. It wasn't too big, even for my biggest finger. Do you think I'm from Newport, then? I whispered. From a rich family? Osh shook his head. Everything else about you said poor. Then where did this come from? He shrugged. It's real gold, that's all I know. How can you tell? It's very old, he said, and there's dirt in where the ruby sits, but the gold hasn't gone green like buried brass would have, or bronze. I couldn't stop looking at the ring. I couldn't stop thinking about who had worn it last. I put it back and set the box on the windowsill by my bed. Will you help me figure out what it means? He sighed. We're going to Pennickey's tomorrow, aren't we? I kissed his cheek. We are, I said. Good night. He said some words in his other language, and then he went out into the night calling Mouse in a voice that was hoarse for no good reason. I closed my eyes and saw in my own darkness the letter someone had laid on my chest, the handwriting, the pale ink, the blank spaces in between, and I dreamed again about the sea and whales nearby a dark, rocking world full of stars. All right. So I want you to make a prediction. I want to know, who do you think that the ring belongs to? I hope you all have a great Tuesday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, Adams.